Yo, welcome to the show.
Yo YouTube, what is good? Welcome back to my channel, Zero to Hero Investing. If you're new here, just know that my videos are not usually like this with me in front of the webcam holding this hella distracting mic. But this is one of my monthly spending plan breakdowns. This is my second one actually, and this one will be covering the October to November spending period. Normally, my videos focus on my stocks and ETFs inside my Robinhood portfolios, dividends, growth plays, options, all that good stuff. But I figured just showing the planning behind how I actually fund these accounts with a savings rate that is consistently between 25% and 40% of my take home pay might be just as interesting, maybe even a little bit entertaining for some of you guys. For some high level context, I'm 28 years old and my weekly take home pay usually lands between about $1,150 and $1,400 and I'm paid hourly. Usually I do work overtime like 9 out of 10 times. So on a monthly basis, my income ranges anywhere from around 4,500 to 5,500 a month, depending on the pay cycle. And if you know, you know. Things get kind of wild when the month has 5 paychecks. If you budget and you get paid weekly, you know exactly what I'm talking about. One thing that I do differently in my spending plan is that the balance kind of rolls over from month to month. So if I overspend in one period, that negative balance is going to carry forward as negative income in the next month. So that might make my income section look a little weird at times. It's not that I'm making less money, it's just the way I account for the cash flow across periods. My goal is to zero out the balance by the end of next year, and starting next year too, I'll be switching to like a clean zero-based approach anyways, and I think that'll make it easier to see my true expenses each month and give us like a more consistent baseline going forward. Anyway, that's how the income side of things look. Let's dig into the expenses because that's where we can see how the plan actually played out. We'll do like a category by category, what I budgeted versus what I spent, and after that I'll even walk through how I'm planning to spend my money and just make it work harder for me, smarter for me in November, and we'll wrap things up. I've been tracking this for a while now, so I know my habits pretty well, but let's say like life happens. Sometimes things just happen unexpectedly, but you just have to pivot and kind of get back in the grind of things. And if you can't already tell, this might be like an Excel heavy video, so if you're not into that, you should watch, but if you're into that, then let's get into it. So welcome to what I would call my monthly spending plan summary, and one thing I'd like to note before we start is that when I say month, I'm actually referring to a custom budget period that runs from the 21st of one month to the 20th of the next month. So in this case, October's spending plan covers September 21st through October 20th. Just wanted to make that clear. Basically, that means that this plan technically reset like 10 days ago since it's the 1st of November, which makes this video like, again, 10 days late. But hey, better late than never, right? Alright, let's jump into the data here. Over here on the left, you can see my income, and on the right are my expenses. For income, there's a couple categories. We have my paychecks, the carryover balance that rolls from the previous month. There's the miscellaneous income, cashback, interest from my savings accounts, and just any transfers from sinking funds when I need to cover a specific expense that I had previously like planned and budgeted for. Each one of them has both an expected and an actual column. So pretty much you can see what I planned for and what actually happened. Starting with the paychecks, I usually budget around $1,120 per paycheck, which is about what I take home in a normal 40-hour work week. This one here is a little bit higher since I had already known that I'd be working overtime, so I bumped it up slightly in the budget, and as you can see, I ended up taking even more than I expected across all 4 checks, which is nice. It adds a little bit of cushion and helps my savings account grow a little bit faster. If you don't know, I get paid directly in my SoFi account and it just sits there at like a 4.5% APY, and I'm not complaining about that at all. Now about this big negative $2,700 carryover. That's the balance that I was talking about earlier. Basically, when I overspend in one month, that amount carries forward as a negative income into the next one, and it makes my income section look a little weird, but that's just how I track things. The goal is to naturally bring that number back to zero by the end of the year, and starting next year I'll move to like a zero-based balance so that each month it starts fresh and the math is cleaner and easier to work with, more intuitive. As for the rest, no miscellaneous income this time. Like No like weird income, just whatever it might be. I don't know. It can vary from month to month. There was no cashback either. But we did get some interest, and that came from a mix between my Discover, which was the bulk of that, and I think I got maybe like 16 or 17 cents from my SoFi account, which I opened towards the end of September. So obviously it wasn't a lot. And then lastly, I transferred about $2,000 from my sinking funds to cover an expense that I had been saving for. It's something that I'll be paying for over the next year, but this was like a lump sum down payment, and I wanted to transfer some from my savings to cover this. Moving over to the expenses, I break them down into like 7 main categories, and each one should have at least one subcategory underneath. But for like discussing the spends and all that, I'll just keep it to the main categories. The first one we have is investments, which includes my main taxable brokerage. There's my Roth IRA inside that one, and a couple other small taxable accounts. I also have like one crypto that I throw like $20 in a month. I think it's Webull Pay or something like that. And I budgeted around 1400, but I actually put 1712, which I'm not mad about, because if I'm gonna overspend anywhere, it might as well be there, in my opinion. And that happened mostly because I made two transfers into my Roth on Columbus Day without realizing the holiday shifted the deposit timing. And next is my housing, which covers rent, water, electricity, the usual utilities, your internet, trash pickup because we live in an apartment, cleaning supplies, and finally renter's insurance. And I budgeted 808, spent about 836, so a little over. And cleaning supplies are usually the reason, because they always like sneak up on me. Maybe you too. So I want to consciously have a line item in my budget for this. For food, I budgeted 525 and spent around 462, which is under budget. And that one includes groceries, fast food, dining, coffee, stuff like that. And there's a big difference between groceries and like fast food, but at the end of the day, it's things you buy to nourish your body. So I just grouped them all together. Travel includes car insurance, the gas, maintenance, and I budgeted 180, spent 115, which came in under, since I'm already saving separately for new tires. In my savings account, like I got a whole bucket in SoFi. It's cool. They call it a vault actually, so that's pretty neat. And for my pet, it's mostly for our dog, Stella. And well, we used to have two pet spiders, but one passed away recently, and that category came in under two at about 172 versus 300. Stella, we had a vet appointment booked for her that we way over budgeted for. It just came in way cheaper than we expected, so not complaining about that one. Entertainment we have next, and that includes your phone bill, the gym, subscriptions to Netflix, Hulu, whatever we've got, shopping and outings, whatever my wife and I might decide to do on a random weekend day. And I budgeted around 104, spent about 187 for that, so pretty close to the plan. And finally, there's the miscellaneous category, which is literally a catch-all for everything. It's for family help, because I have my family back home. We just got married, so there's the legal fees to change my status with all that. I might get into that in more detail in another video. There is a personal stuff like just massages or getting your hair done, whatever, thrifting, and just truly random things. There's literally a miscellaneous line item. There's a miscellaneous subcategory in the miscellaneous category. So really just whatever you had missed goes into that bucket. For this one, miscellaneous, we budgeted 2752 and spent 2666, so a bit under there too, and that's where the sinking funds kind of came in to help things out. You usually don't spend 2700 on miscellaneous items. Overall, I'd say it was a solid spending month. Total spending was about 6012 compared to a budget of 6069, so basically right on target, just under by about $57. The income also came in higher too, around $43.60 compared to $38.60 planned, mostly thanks to that overtime, about $500 extra. And I'm really grateful for that, because I really do work hard for every single one of those dollars. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. The savings rate the savings rate shows as 39%, but because of the negative carryover and it being skewed, realistically investing about 1712 out of about 1500 comes out closer to 34%, which is still solid, especially since this is all after tax income. On top of that, I still contribute pre-tax to my 401k, so I'm happy about that. Overall, it's a good balance between spending, saving, investing for the future, and now we can get into November. Technically, we're already about 7 days in. I budgeted around the same amounts across most categories, with paychecks set a little higher for some weeks because I've already worked some of these Fridays, and like I know my pay, I've gotten overtime already. The carryover dropped from negative 2700 to negative 1650, so I love that. We're moving in the right direction. No big expected miscellaneous income or cashback this time, and I don't really estimate interest ahead of time. I just kind of record it when it comes. No major transfers planned from sinking funds either. And for my expenses, I really budgeted my investments a little bit higher at 1725 because I think I can do it. I mean, the numbers say I can. Housing costs, they say the same. Food is around 5,500. Travel's lights, the pet category is just food for Stella this month. And entertainment is steady. And miscellaneous is a little bit higher this month because I'm helping cover some plane tickets for my parents to visit for the holidays. And that puts total expected spending at around 4,600. And expected pay around 3,000. So on paper that looks a little rough, but it'll likely balance out once everything posts. The projected savings rate shows as 57%, but again, that's not super accurate until the month closes. So again, we'll revisit that on the next update. Pretty much that is it for this one, and I'll try to have the next update closer to the 21st when my budget actually resets. So stay tuned for that one. Peace.